Welcome to another episode of Retail Media Thursdays with me, David Sequeira from Skai. Today we have the brilliant Gemma Spence, who's going to be talking all things retail media, so sit back and enjoy. Hello Gemma.
Hello David, it's nice to meet you in the flesh after COVID.
I know, we've done many Zoom calls, but it's nice to have a glass of wine together.
For sure.
So look, welcome to Retail Media Thursdays.
Thank you for having me.
That's okay. You've actually been mentioned a couple of times already, as you might be aware. Jason Westcott.
Who is a legend, by the way.
He is a legend. The Hulk now he's known as. But he definitely mentioned you a couple of times in reference to his own Retail Media Thursday. But I don't think his introduction was enough, so I'm going to pass it over to you. Introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your role.
My name's Gemma Spence. I've been working now in digital commerce and e-commerce for pushing 13 to 15 years. I spent the first half of my career within consumer electronics, working on the brand side, on leading D2C, but also on Amazon. Mm-hmm. And the latter part, building capabilities within agencies that are being very client first and growth focused in all things digital commerce. So just over a year ago, I joined the mighty VMLY&R Commerce to lead capabilities globally. So all things digital commerce, connected commerce, creative commerce, and kind of pulling together our brilliant depth and breadth of capabilities. Start to codify a lot of those services. Mm-hmm. And augment with our kind of data offering and our partners like yourself. So it's been a really fun ride, and I've also had the great privilege of working with one of our largest CPG companies within WPP, leading them on their commerce acceleration journey.
Very cool. So I guess the question would be, why is VMLY&R different? What's different of it compared to some of your competitors, obviously in the commerce space?
So that's a really good question, and I think that given my past experience, right, you knew me in my previous life, I had the, I suppose, great privilege of being able to build out capability and have a good vantage point of what other agencies, other independents, other consultancies were doing building. And I think that the first word that springs to mind is foresight. So within VMLY&R and VMLY&R Commerce, back about 2.5 years ago, Mark Reed made the decision together with Beth Ann Kamenko, who was the CEO of Geometry, and John Cook, who was the CEO of VMLY&R, to merge the two companies together. So what that meant is that a new agency was kind of born, and it was the creative commerce powerhouse within WPP. Now, the reason I mentioned foresight is actually the landscape's changing, as you know. Retail media has, and it's been mentioned in so many places about retail media being the third wave of advertising. And I think that given that, the digital shelf, the physical shelf is merged, it's blended, you can buy and transact anywhere. Everything is connected, and retail media is the connective tissue. I think that the foresight was that creativity is the single most important factor, and it's been proven through the WARC effectiveness ladder to help brands stand out and drive profitable growth and returns. And this merging of these two behemoths allowed for WPP's end-to-end creative commerce company to be born. So there's 13,000 amazing subject matter experts, 4,500 that are within digital commerce and shopper. And what it allows us to do is to blend the functional needs within connected commerce. Mm-hmm. So whether that is around digital shelf, digital operations, retail media, together with the need and the importance of creativity, given that things are, increasingly more addressable and as we move into the new frontier of like the attention economy. So yeah, it's an amazing time to be within VMLY&R commerce.
I actually am going to come back a lot today to the subjects of creativity. We have touched on it in other Retail Media Thursdays within this series, but I feel like you're going to be able to go far more in depth on this topic. So.
Well, let's hope so.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to that one. Before we do though, just where are we? What we doing in this pub?
So we're in Lady Ottoline, a beautiful pub just a couple of blocks away from my new gaff, so at WPP campus. And yeah, it's a super nice place. It's very chic, and guess what? They have really nice wine too.
It is a nice wine. I'll give you that. It is a really nice wine. Okay, Gemma. So we're gonna kick off with my first question. We're obviously in a London pub today, but as Birdie tells me, you were in Miami last week, and you were presenting at the WPP Commerce event. I hear your presentation was predicting the unpredictable, the big commerce bets of 2023. I'd love to hear what your big bets are.
So I had the great fortune of presenting and co-presenting together with one of my clients at Colgate, Nick Davis, and we were talking about the big e-commerce bets that are really playing on a lot of brands' minds today, now, but also into the future. Mm-hmm. So we touched on 4 key areas. The first one, which sounds very foundational, but actually it's more important than ever, was the idea that the window is getting smaller and smaller, and the fact that things like, we're talking about e-commerce or digital commerce right now, but the reality is it's m-commerce or kind of channelless commerce. Over 50% of sales now are transacted via mobiles. So actually what that means is that content becomes the most important factor within the digital shelf and the digital auction. So actually having the ability to be able to cut, edit and build around content production in a way that is agile and that ties into the kind of moments that really matter for consumers and shoppers. So, whilst it is foundational and it is kind of like, say, the brilliant basics, it's still like exceptionally important as we start to think about things, the shelf being more and more dynamic. Mm-hmm. So that was the first one. The second one that we talked about was social commerce and social media, and I still think, and Nick and I both discussed, that social commerce is really under-indexed, and actually it's not given the focus that a lot of brands should. It's not only there for driving conversion or transaction, but ultimately it's there for driving brand love and from an equity building perspective. So one of the facts or fun facts that I kind of discovered as part of building out the detail for Ad Age was that, like, this year alone, and this is staggering, this year alone, social commerce is going to be 31 billion. That is 20% of total digital commerce and retail sales. It is massive, and I think all brands, all businesses should really think about the end-to-end connected journey and how they can start kind of powering brand love, but equally driving repeat sales and loyalty through the channel. So that was the second one. The third one, which is not going to seem like a strange subject, given we're here for Retail Media Thursdays, but it's ultimately retail media, and there's a reason why it's called the third wave of advertising, given it's going to be in the next 5 years $170 billion. $170 billion, like, crazy. That's not a small amount of money, right? And it's growing 82% year on year, and more, it's no longer channel agnostic. It's about that connectivity or connective tissue driving near and within retailers, and giving brands the ability to switch, disrupt and convert at shelf in a way that they've never had before. So we talked about that at length. And then the final one was around sustainability. And, again, from some of the research that we've done, what we found is that actually 52% of shoppers so the number one or two key consideration factor is sustainability, and how sustainable not only the product but actually the entire value chain is. So the whole circular economy area is more important not only for luxury goods but actually for highly commoditized goods as well. So that was another area that we kind of dug into in a bit of detail too.
Oh, very cool. I said we're going to come back to it, but Gemma, we've mentioned creativity and creative a number of times already, and I saw that VMLY&R Commerce talked about this being the year of the creative commerce revolution, and I saw actually you wrote something similar in Ad Age a couple of weeks ago as well. So, what is the creative commerce revolution, and most importantly, really, what's the reward for brands that, I guess, cotton onto it and do something with this now?
So creativity is the single most important factor for brands to stand out from any shelf. So I think that COVID has been an accelerator, right? It's been talked about in many different publications, whether that's eMarketer or eConsultancy, that they were 10 years of progress in 10 months at the beginning of the pandemic. So we're not in a stage of evolution anymore, we're in a stage of revolution. And I think that the likes of retail media being that connective tissue that helps to harmonize all of the functional expertise and excellence that is required to win within the digital and also now the physical shelf. Creativity is, together with retail media, that glue. And there has been a true renaissance within creativity. Shoppers, consumers are looking for, that emotional connection with brands, and whether that is a commoditized brand or product, or a high-end luxury garment or good, consumers are looking for that emotional connection, and that's where creativity plays a disproportionate part in the equation. So I think that a lot of brands and businesses have got the functional aspects right. So that's digital operations, digital shelf, all of the kind of utility and the syncing together between different data points to drive the insights that can be actioned accordingly. But I think the area of creativity has been underrepresented and underutilized as a way of helping brands' distinctive assets really stand out from any shelf. So we're billing it the year of creative commerce revolution because it's no longer this evolution. We have to be radical, we have to be rapid, and we have to change the way that we're approaching things so that we can capitalize on the opportunity that retail media presents around kind of that whole addressability or dynamic creative near and within retailers, so that brands can switch and disrupt shoppers and drive that emotional connection long term. So that's our mission for 2023 and beyond.
Great. How do you think brands should structure for success in retail media?
So that's a really good question, and honestly, probably the question that I am getting, and we as VMLY&R Commerce are getting the most at the moment. I think there's not one right answer. There's not, right? There's no silver bullet here. I think there's a couple of things that need to be top of mind when brands are thinking about how to structure and organize around the next or the third wave of advertising within retail media. So the very first one is about organization structure and model. So I think there's, again, not a silver bullet. what we've seen from a lot of clients is that they are incubating this. So looking at it within their, center of excellence or center of acceleration, and incubating and building out the governance so that there's things like, the right taxonomy and measurement framework, there's the metrics that matter, there's the kind of right tech stack in order to evangelize and ensure that everything from kind of digital shelf integrity all the way through to demand gen is organized and arranged in a way that doesn't cannibalize, whether it's at a division or market level. And then there's obviously training, right? So that needs to be done from at a governance level. The other area that we're also seeing from a kind of above market is, within retail media, it has a direct implication on terms and negotiations from a retailing standpoint. So again, what we've seen more and more, certainly within the CPG space, is brands starting to leverage their retail media buying scale together with kind of WPP's buying scale in order to get more value, whether that's hard or soft value from the kind of biggest players, whether that be Amazon, Walmart, Kroger, and all the other retailers as part of the kind of value chain. So I think that from a structure standpoint, I think the kind of building out a governance layer is important, but it's going to change, right, depending on whether a business is functionally led or divisionally led. So I think it's all about having kind of the right processes in place, and I think that again is something that can be governed from the top. And it's again, looking at the whole value chain from digital shelf and digital operations all the way through to retail media and demand generation. So, consistent data tools and tech, consistent metrics that matter, and the right training for talent and markets. I think the other area in markets is around investment guidance and looking at budgeting and allocations, because ultimately retail media sits both on the sales but also on the marketing front. So it's making sure that the teams are set up for success when they are negotiating and gaining the kind of the dynamic and static space within the shelf. I touched on talent, and I think that this is really important. I think the reality is that retail media, and you know this better than most, it's evolving at such a rapid pace, and I think that everyone in every organisation knows it's important. I don't think that they fully understand what they need to be upskilled on and how they should be leveraging it. So I think that from my experience working with many of the largest brands in the world, there is an absolute need for functional and discipline-led training that is around the need for retail media understanding, whether that is around supply chain or finance or sales or brands or within the kind of the media discipline. So, and then the other one is around process. So I touched on it a little bit, but process and data exchange, they go hand in glove. So, again, from a functional standpoint, looking at the ability to be far more data driven and use the insights so that you can drive creativity near and within the shelf. So I think that making sure that you've got the right workflow and the connective tissue between partners such as yourself, so that there's that exchange between insights, whether that's around digital operations or stock or pricing elasticity or promotions, into behavioural insights, so that you can make sure that your media and your creativity is driving based on the needs and the motivations of shoppers near and within the shelf.
Very cool. I feel like I cheated because I got you to ask another question there, but I think it's important. And I guess to summarise, it's like a mixture of people, process, and tech. I guess of all
as well as partners.
And partners. There you go. We got 3 P's and a T.
Amen.
There you go. All right. Now I have to go to like the really quick fire questions. But thank you for that answer. So I'm gonna have to think of them off the top of my head. Here we go. What's the best thing about your job?
Oh, there's so many things that I love about my job. I think working with amazing, smart, talented people, like I get to work with the best in the business every single day within my team and the broader team. WPP, VMLY&R Commerce has the best bench of talent in the industry, hands down.
All right, here we go. This is your next one, which is, what is your favourite app on your phone that you could not live without?
Definitely WhatsApp, hands down WhatsApp, because it's kind of like, it's the way of connecting with folk, right? Everyone's on WhatsApp, and the ability to build groups, whether that's your family, your work fam, your besties, like if you're going on holiday with your friends or whatever, like you can engage and you can keep up to date really quickly. So I kind of live on WhatsApp.
Yeah, me too. All right, final question. Who's your media mentor?
That's a great question. I would say there's 2.
You're always going for 2, aren't you?
I mean, like, I'm gonna push the envelope as much as I possibly can. So the first one is, a great mentor of mine and also a really dear friend. He actually got me out of a hole when I lost my case in Miami last week. So there's a guy called Colin Gottlieb. He founded MG.
Yeah.
He then kind of set up and scaled Omnicom Media Group, went on to Lad Bible, and is now working for the Muhammad Ali Foundation. So, he really got me my first big break, setting up and scaling Transact within Omnicom. So, he is a very dear friend. I respect him thoroughly. I trust him implicitly, and he continues to push the boundaries of what's possible within media, creative and comms. So that's the first. The second one is Philippa Brown. So PhD, Media's worldwide CEO, an incredible leader. She, again, pushes what is possible, has been an incredible advocate for women and diversity as a whole, and has kind of led the way in terms of innovation within the media world, especially within retail media. So 2 good pals, people that I truly respect, and who are kind of leading the way within all things media and comms.
Brilliant. Well, look, I found today truly fascinating. It's great to have you on. You're well known in the industry as being like the pinnacle of inspiring leaders. You know your subject matter so well, so it's obviously a privilege to have you on Retail Media Thursdays. And yeah, we'll finish our wine now. So thank you very much, Gemma.
Cheers. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you.
Cheers.
It's been great.